my structure for today's session is to say, yeah, okay, we are in a particular month of November. Exams, probably let's try to get you going for December and go and actually get you encouraged to start, open up your books, let's get through together and doing some sort of work on it. Looking at some sort of sessional performances that have happened over the period of time that is there, you will see along from here. So just playing with my machine a little bit of what's the cause of a lot of student failures. If you manage looking at it really from the 4 resource 5 bits that are there, you got introduction to organizations, managing finance, managing technology, marketing, and human resource. So apologize, you can't see the whole lot of that one, right? So talking about really where do students fail? And then we'll look at why do students fail. So where are students failing is this kind of new area in a way of managing the finance itself. So between now and the exam, I would suggest, yes, start looking at that in a probably more fine point, much more attention required to that particular area of the syllabus. Paper like E1, from the objective test point of view, questions are not so long to answer, really. And so you don't have a lot of problem about having time allocation of reading the question. Yes, have to be a little bit accurate in terms of reading the question, seeing what sort of words that are being used, and the choice of answering of those sort of questions. But I don't think there is any much time pressure. So why would students fail this? Largely is due to lack of knowledge here. So if you kind of focus within your study areas of managing the finance part of it first, managing technology is reasonably good because the young kids that are coming through doing this exam are very technologically oriented. So they've been able to actually handle this area quite well as well. In terms of, sorry, just sliding this down a bit. Operational management. Again, an area which is quite a big chunk of the syllabus, performed quite well. Marketing, a bit surprising here as to how marketing is being slightly underperformed at this particular level itself. So managing finance really E1 is the cause of concern for you. Papers like E1 do require a specific exam techniques of how do you study. Largely E1 is all written, words, and what often happens with students is really your eyes look at something, the brain remembers nothing. You know, we often have this problem. I'm not the only one, I hope, who has this particular issue. So how do you start getting around E1 where you have a lot of reading material to deal with? My suggestion would be that don't read it in big chunks of yourself. Don't sort of sit down and say, okay, 2 hours, I'm going to crack this particular thing. No, just do it in small bites of it. And more often and frequently revising this particular method of doing it. So you sort of setting yourself a study session of, let's say, something like 30 minutes, you know. But even the 30-minute study session, my recommendation would be do something for about 10 minutes, just stop for a few seconds and just quickly review. What did I read? What did I read? And what is also most important now with the operational levels is how do you interrelate the topics as well. So if there is an area, don't just start studying it in isolation. So when you do introductions to organization, don't just read that on its own. See how that can be connected to the marketing. See how that can be connected to your operations. See how it can be connected to managing technology as well. And what you're looking for is an integrated approach. Excuse me, drinking water just before that. So what we're talking about is do a small 30-minute study session. After about 10 minutes, just stop for a second and review what you have done. Having done that, and when you finish the 30-minute session, just stop there and don't just walk away from it. Just sit quietly and think, well, what was this session about? What did I actually study within this? And then, of course, invariably, practicing questions. There is absolutely no substitute for it. CIMA website, go to the CIMA Connect. You've got quite a lot of practice questions over there. You may be using a variety of publishers. I'm not here to push any publisher at all. And there are plenty of practice questions that are around for you. And there is absolutely no substitute in this particular area to just simply practice against the clock. And it is not just sitting there taking your time saying, okay, yeah, that's the answer. If I don't know something, let's look up the answer. You're cheating yourself over there. So try to be a little bit honest about the method in which you are studying. So those of you wishing to take this sort of deadline from November, and let's hope before December you want to finish off doing your particular exam, then I would strongly suggest start with some study material. Well, get your study textbooks that are out. First of all, even before you do that, start getting to know what the syllabus is. It's unfortunate, a lot of students don't even look at the syllabus. And there's, the CIMA has been very, very good. They have outlined everything that you need to know within the syllabus. What are your learning outcomes? What is expected of you that is there? And your starting point really has to be, you must keep a copy of the CIMA official study syllabus. Otherwise, you don't even know what you're revising or you're studying. And those studies, syllabus itself becomes a checklist for you. Tick off the sessions. Yeah, I've studied this. Yes, I've done. Oh, I'm not so sure about this one. I better go and look at this again. And once you've reviewed and done that, don't try to cherry pick thinking, oh, I will do this particular question in this exam. No, don't try to do that at all. Just cover the whole lot of the syllabus. And that is important. Don't try to sort of predict or listen to predictions from anybody, oh, this will be this and this will be this. No, just be fully prepared, all right? So having looked at this E1 on that basis, it's a wordy paper. No calculations are involved in this at all for you. A problem area here is going to be your concentration, your attention, the method with which you will be studying this particular part of the paper. You need to develop that particular technique. How do you, in person, work with it? And at that stage, if I can just kind of ask you to just question yourself, what is the best time that you study? Yeah, I know you're all busy with work and social life and family life. We all have that, of course. But each one of us has a body clock. What is the best time of the day that you should study a particular area? I mean, I can talk about myself because I know I'm in the afternoons, I'm no good, and it is hopeless for me to study a written paper in the afternoon. I'd rather do a calculation type paper. I'm mentally razor sharp in the evening from about 6 onwards. Well, that's when I will be studying a written type paper. But you need to identify yourself, because otherwise you will find that you're studying along something that's absolutely not productive time for you at all. So try to find how does your own mental body clock work, and what is the peak of your mental abilities to grasp these sort of areas of the syllabus. Not a difficult paper, no. Syllabus fairly wide, yes. But really, the questions that are appearing in this sort of areas, not technically that difficult to answer. So gain the confidence. If you want to go and start off this particular E1 paper, don't. The only thing you will have is fear in your mind. You will see lots of words. Oh my God, concepts and things. Yes, certainly that will scare you. There are some parts you'll find quite exciting. Yeah, some of the marketing concepts and things, you will probably love it. So a lot of the human resource things is instinctive. You know about it. You don't need somebody who's written something about it, telling you what it is all about. Yeah. So yes, you're studying dead authors at this particular stage. Managing finance function may take a lot more time. So allocate that little bit more time towards that one part of the syllabus, and then just simply practice. My purpose is that really, if I'm looking at it from a timeline point of view, if this is November, if I'm putting December as my deadline, can I do one objective test exam in E1? The answer is yes, you can. Absolutely, you should be able to do it. Enough time, provided you go and attack this paper on a daily basis. This is not going to be a paper which you can then say, okay, every Saturday, Sunday I'll study, or on a Friday I'll sit down and study, and then during the week I forget about it. No. You need to carry these books with you and study this thing continuously for that. Right, let's move on to the next paper. Yeah. All right, next one is P1, Management Accounting. Students like this because it has got a combination of written questions and combination of calculations. You all love bashing away at the calculator, getting these things out of the way. Pass rates, from my point of view, are slightly disappointing. I would expect a lot higher pass rate in this particular paper. Between January and May, 55, crept up to 62, which is good. I would prefer this to be in the 70s, which, come on, let's all of us get together and we should be able to hit the 70 mark in this particular paper. Areas of this particular areas. Again, if you just look at sessions where students are going wrong, just talking quickly about where students fail the paper, right? And in particular, looking at I've just finished with the E1, just looking at really the P1 part of it. Looking at these areas over here, you can see where the sessions are causing a bit of a problem with the students. Core cost accounting systems, quite a big area of the syllabus. Budgeting, short-term decision-making, dealing with uncertainty and risk. I think it's a fairly balanced paper. Yes, it's big. I don't think it's a small syllabus in itself. The variety of things being thrown in over here. Little bit of maths is required from your foundation level. If you were examined, just go and look up some basic maths on this area will help you as well. The core accounting systems covering quite a foundation level stages, so it takes you through and builds you up to your P2 level. Almost everything here will assist you in the P2 level as well. So it does pay dividends to actually spend a bit of time and learning this thing a bit more carefully than you may well have thought of. Looking at the articles and things that have been around. So if ever you are stuck about some of them, I think the sales variance article is a pretty good, well-written article. And if you start thinking about reading of this and limiting factors, I don't think that students find that a very difficult area. They do get stuck a little bit on the relevant costing areas, just the conceptual side of it, what is relevant, what is not relevant in itself. And then there are OTQs on these areas as well. So resources are available. You just have to get onto the CIMA website and get them. Yeah. As far as the study is concerned on P1, just go back to the diagrams here. Okay, so this is to talk about approaches to studying of P1. Some knowledge from C1 required. And if you had been exempt from C1 for a variety of reasons, good to get the exemption, but it doesn't mean because you've been exempted from the syllabus, you're exempted from the knowledge of the C1 itself. So the knowledge of C1 does help you along with the P1 as well. Not saying go and study all the way back again to the basics of it, but be aware there is an overlap here, quite a bit of it. In terms of students' approach to preparing this particular paper, yes, certainly start with you got the study systems and study textbooks to study from. Hit it by chapter that you go along. Chapters that are causing you some sort of difficulties, maybe towards the short-term decision-making areas, and perhaps under dealing with certainty and risk. Areas which may need a little bit more technical knowledge than that. The approach to this particular paper, yes, I think this is a session where I could say to you, don't just do it for 30 minutes. It's probably a 45 to 60-minute session at a time. You could conceivably sit down for an hour and run through a session on it. I think anything more than that, you might need to break yourself up a little bit and then start back again with the practice questions that is there. It's a paper that I teach, so I'm trying to hold myself back and say, I don't want to over-talk this particular paper as I want to do a general thing for whole of the operational. But if there are any particular areas of the syllabus within here, I'm quite happy to answer any questions that you have. When you're looking at the P1 paper, what sort of difficulties students have, ma'am? Mm-hmm. Right, so the mathematics they're happy to do with because they can crack the calculator and just crack the number right. But why is it done? Yes. And that comes in very helpful. And I think at times it does help you if you're working in a particular environment. You can actually see why something has been done and what's the theoretical background behind it. By and large, this is at an operational level. Fairly basic is you're doing your whole monthly reporting type sort of things. A lot of you doing the variance reports, budget reports, etc. With that, you'll be able to actually pick this up from that area itself. You haven't started the P1 yet, but from work you do it. You're working at the moment? For P1, yeah. And how did you find the paper?
My focus is all about E1.
It was all on E1 now. But when you finished P1 or you haven't done it yet?
It's
Almost ready. Right,
almost finished.
let's do it by December. Come on, my friend, all right? So we can get this exam out of the way. Okay. Sorry, sir. You're teaching as well? Or you're studying?
With May.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fine then. No problem. Relax. It's fine. Okay. So back to the P1 paper. Study approach to P1. Yeah, you probably need to do continuously at least an hour a day session on these areas. Hour will go quite quickly. There are some questions will take far longer than you think. I think some of the questions are time-pressured questions. It's not easy to just finish that within the 90-minute exam time that you've got. So you may well be rushed. This is from experience of my students who come and tell me. So ask them, how did you find the P1? Oh, they ran out of a bit of time. Yeah. So the technique here to use is that if you're looking at the questions, CIMA allows you to go forward, backward onto your screen, start scanning through very, very quickly. There's smaller questions, just start answering them. Anything that looks pretty big, just leave it for a moment, leave it for the moment. But when you look at it, the longer questions are easy to answer, really, yes. But it does take a lot of time to read, get to what the information is. On average, 1.2, 1.3 minutes to read and answer the question. But there are shorter questions, which you can do very, very quickly. And yes, quite a bit of them are theoretically based questions in itself. So you will need to know that. Again, if I can guide you towards the CIMA syllabus, I keep saying you might be dead bored with me saying CIMA syllabus, but I find a lot of students don't know the syllabus. Yeah? They pick up the textbook, start doing it. When going the exam, if you ask them, do you know what's the syllabus? No, they have no idea. You cannot go into these exams without knowing what is the syllabus. And that's how you should be studying. You should just be ticking each point of the syllabus and each of the learning outcomes. CIMA has been excellent, really. Get the document from the CIMA website. You'll see what I'm saying. It does, even in a dot point way, tell you, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is your syllabus, this is the learning outcome I need, this is what you need to know. If you cover that, then you go in well-prepared student. So don't go in with simply saying, oh, I'll leave this bit out of it. For sure, it will be in the paper. So that is, you cannot start avoiding these sort of things. So P1 paper, generally, students are reasonably comfortable with this paper. Personally, I would like to see the pass rate at around 70 rate for sure pretty soon. All right. So far, we have not heard the 70 might be coming pretty soon. We'll be getting to that. Students are fairly well prepared on this area. F1, let's get to this. Sorry. Right, F1, very encouraging. You can see it's been in the 80s, so really there's no reasons for you to fail this at all at the first attempt. Yeah, have to go for it as a first-time pass. First-time passes are very encouraging. You can see they are well 75%. Pass rates. So I think these pass rates are very encouraging, gives a lot of comfort for the students that will do it. Will you finish the whole of all the questions that are there? That's the questionable. I think students are not finishing every single question that is there in the paper, but you pass it. You can pass this paper quite happily with it. Let's look at the syllabus part of it, of what we have. Play with my machine. And sorry if I focus on failing rather than passing parts of it. Gives you the idea of where you should be focusing your studies. Yeah. This has generally been past performance of where it is happening and where are you going wrong. Regulatory environment of financial reporting, corporate governance. Bit of boring area. Students tend to fall asleep over here a little bit because they just have to learn the rules and regulations. Well, that's what the rules are. Rules are. Don't forget, whatever you learn on F1, you will need it for F2 as well. So you might as well learn the basics correctly at this stage. The one that is quite tough and disappointing is finance, accounting, and reporting. And this is where, how can students be doing this sort of level of work? No idea. Managing working capital used to be in the old P1, has now been brought in here. Big chunk of your syllabus, let me warn you, right? This will take you quite a lot of time to cover every part of the working capital. But, for sure, questions will be in the paper because it is a part of the syllabus been brought in over here. Managing working capital, looking at sources of short-term finance over here. And then fundamentals of business taxation. Students generally tend to do okay on this tax part. But the ones that are giving students a bit of a problem, working capitals for some of them, things like factoring, not understanding how bills of exchange work, that sort of area. And looking at various sources of finance. It's the first time you're coming across at an operational level. You just probably started your CIMA exams. You're thrown into finance world, which you may not be aware of. What are different ways of a firm can raise sources of capital, and which are probably more suitable for certain medium, large organizations that might be there. So pay particular attention to that part of it. Bit of the source of finance will be required in your F2 as well. F3 has a lot more for you. Okay? In terms of looking at study methods and things, well, unfortunately, students are a little bit disappointed, those of you know it. We don't no longer have a whole full-blooded profit and loss and statement of financial positions to prepare. We just have little parts of each of these areas to learn. So you're not going to prepare and sit there from a trial balance, do the adjustments and things. But you must get an overall understanding. You must know the overall picture of how a firm prepares this set of accounts and what a set of accounts looks like. It's a good starting point to look at it from that point of view. Exam questions will be focusing on little parts of it for you and saying, okay, what you need. So you cannot get away from knowing the full area of the syllabus here. Anything from anywhere will turn up on the paper and cause you a problem. But generally, students have handled this very well. Yeah? They have developed a good mental ability to pick up this particular part of the paper. Hasn't really caused a major source of concern at this particular level. So there we are, operational level, E1, P1, F1. Yeah. P1 pass rates, want to see it a bit higher. E1 can cause you a little bit of problem purely because it is a written paper and some of you don't like the written papers at all. Both the P1 and the F1, quite a large conceptual calculation type of part to the syllabus. So you're quite happy with the numbers part of it. So overall, this is your approach. As far as worrying about doing the exams and things, don't worry. Don't give in to fear. Yeah, this is a different style of being examined, that's all. Yeah. The knowledge, just think about it, the knowledge is exactly the same. The knowledge is same, but the way CIMA is now examining this knowledge has changed, yes. It's come to these objective test questions, which we never had seen them before. Some of these parts, and I've sort of kept myself away from case study and talking to you about the case study. The knowledge from here will invariably be needed in the case study. You will have some sort of lack of knowledge somewhere here. Later on, you'll be caught out. So CIMA is now developing a management accountant, which is holistic. He will be able to interrelate various items that is there, and you'll become a better management accountant. Not saying the past one were not good. You're even going to be even better in this challenging world that we have at the moment. Yeah? So fear is going to be anything new. How is this going to be tested? What will I do? How will I do? Well, go on the CIMA website. You can practice some questions. Yeah? Nothing there. If you fail that one, doesn't matter. Try it again and try it again. And you'll soon catch on to it that, hey, this is actually not a bad way of assessing students that is there. Sorry, throat drying up. I just flew in from India, so I was just literally just coming off the plane in a way. Yeah. So overall, on the operational level, well, my approach would be to say to you, have no fear, right? And for the way to get rid of this fear is actually start having a proper study method. Find a lot of students studying very haphazardly. Yeah? They'll come in from day's work. You're tired. Everybody's tired. I'm a human being. You're a human being. You get in there and you think, okay, let me open the book. And you start reading, and the first 5-10 minutes you're there, and then the brain just switches off, isn't it? And the phone calls start coming, and a whole lot of disruptions are there. So a certain degree of discipline is certainly required. Yeah? And if you can start just making up some sort of sessions diagram or just study sessions that are there. So be specific and then be disciplined about it. No point making a plan and then not keeping up to it. That's the worst thing you can do. So make a plan. So when you come in, say from Monday morning you wake up half an hour early. Does it matter? You might do 2 or 3 objective test questions in the morning. Go to work, take the book with you. It's not that heavy. So sitting at work, do you need 1 hour lunchtime? Not really, yeah. Have half an hour lunchtime and then just do some objective questions. Why not? Just do two, three questions. So wake up in the morning, you've done 2 or 3. Lunchtime, you've done 2 or 3. Evening, going in the train or wherever you got a bit of time, do another 2 or 3. Before you go to bed, have a look at 1 or 2 again. So in a day, the brain is just there all the time. In a day, you would have done about 15, 20 multiple choice questions every day. Yeah, including Sundays, yeah, including Fridays over here. So there is no holidays, okay? So given the pressure of time, and I like to put that pressure of time for you, given the CIMA's generous ability to give you flexibility to do this exam anytime you want, 24/7, I'm continuously finding from my experience, what students are doing is they're coming to my classes. Then after the classes, because there is no specific deadline by which they have to do the exam, they kind of sit back and relax. Don't do that. Yeah? Put yourself under a deadline. Have a particular deadline saying, okay, if I've done a particular course, 3 weeks after the course, I must do my paper. I must go and do the paper. Yeah? And that way, you will get yourself regimented into it. And I think a 3 week after the end of the course is a healthy time for you to do, enough time for you to go and practice it instead of just keeping and letting drift and drift and drift. That is there. Different variety of ways students study. Yeah. Some of you might make up little cards and start learning from cards. There are companies that produces little refresher cards or they're just fine. Use those cards. It doesn't matter. And some of you might like to actually study and make your own little notes and things and words and all the rest of it. Well, do it. Whichever method actually works for you, then start doing it. I think the whole idea here is to see, can we get students to start moving away from reading the books and coming into the exam halls and start attempting the exams. That gap between studies being taken, classes being done, and attempting the exam is where we are at the moment. And if there's anything we can do with that, we're more than happy to help you with it. Absolutely will be. Yeah? So that is operational level. Is that fair? All right. Any questions? Yeah. So the areas which are of managing technologies, which is in this particular area of the syllabus, is at a very foundation level. Okay, it's quite a basic level. The way you would want to study with that one is just one section at a time. So first thing to do is get into the syllabus. Yeah, so you got the textbook, fine, no problem with that. But get to the syllabus and say, from the syllabus, which bits do I need to know? And then relate it from the syllabus to the textbook saying, okay, that bit, oh, it's over here, that bit, that is here. Sometimes the textbooks are written with a little bit more knowledge being given, which is nothing wrong with that. But so you don't become overpowering to yourself itself. And then just narrowly examine the multiple choice questions which you said you've got some sort of workbook to work from. Practice those things on each of these technology type area. That will solve the problem for sure. A lot of that is common sense, there is no doubt. And I think what happens here is you don't trust yourself at times. And you look at it and think, is it this easy? Yes, it is. And yes, and it can be overpowering because you probably not get into that area. And when that happens, don't try to read too much. No. Just read a little bit and just stop. Just say, right, what does that mean? Do I understand this? Let me make a note by myself. Don't just keep reading with the eyes. Pick up a pen, have some activity of writing it down, writing it down, writing it down. And just keep yourself a little note from that. And then just practice from those notes. And you think, yeah, okay, I can do it. And it will work, for sure. All right? Try that. Okay. And in terms of, have you put yourself under time pressure? In terms of when you're practicing the questions, or you just, at the moment, quite relaxed?
Once I finish from reading, then I just go from practicing.
But when you practice the question, is it the clock there? Try that, please. Yeah, if you got any of these mobile phones, they all have a stop clock, I think. I have a clock in my computer in the classroom. I just put it on. I said, right, you got this many seconds, not minutes, seconds to do it. And the clock is going tick, tick, tick. I said, done, finished. Tick, tick. And the first few questions, they're taking a while. But hey, after a few questions, they're bumming. They're moving quite fast, getting it wrong sometimes, of course, but at least the speed is there. So I'm just trying to make sure and just ensure that studying at home on your own when there's no lecturer pushing you. I just want to push you from here and say, come on, don't just do the question, take your relaxed time, see, okay, I don't know, have a go at against the clock. Yeah? Great temptation to turn the book at the back, look at the answer and say, yeah, I would have done, no, you would have not done that. Yeah? And so when you don't know the answer, you stop and say, why did I not know it? Maybe I didn't read it properly. Go back to the book. So don't look at the answers and say, yeah, I would have done the same way as the answer. Question it. Ask yourself, why? Yeah? And often I've seen students do that. And I used to, years ago, give students questions with the multiple choice things and keep the answers away from them completely. So they have no answers in front of them at all. So right, you tell me. If you want to do a little bit of fun and games, and this is for entertainment, and you think E1 is not entertainment, let me tell you it is. Some multiple choice questions, some of them have A, B, C, D. A lot of them are objective tests, so you've got written type answers and things. But where there is a multiple choice, and a choice between A, B, C, D, do the question, find the answer, all the rest. Then look back at why have they given you choice A? Why have they given you choice B? Why have they given you choice C? Why A is not right and B is right? And I think that questioning helps you. Takes time. I certainly do. I do that in the class. Yeah, I say to them, okay, this was the answer. Now let's sit back and say, how about A? How about B? Why has B been given? Why C has been given? It kind of makes you think a little bit more.
Sometimes I used to go to the YouTube, like right then.
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly, like for background integration, horizontal integration. It's sometimes like I feel it's a little bit confused.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go for YouTube and write or listen,
And then it works. Yeah, there you go. Learn from anywhere, from textbook, YouTube, anywhere. Absolutely no problem at all. But have that solid knowledge within yourselves. Yeah? And what you need to do is to get this fear out of you. I think a large part of this thing is fear in the brain. Fear leads to failure, for sure. Yeah. Fear, failure. They all go hand in hand, absolutely. And the way to get rid of the fear is actually effort. Work. Work with honesty in your heart. Yeah? You get it wrong, okay, got it wrong, so let's learn from it. Yeah? Yes. And I don't know, I don't want to sort of put you on the spot and insult you or anything, but did you look at the CIMA syllabus of E1? Or did you just got a book and that's it?
I used to go for website.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like every day I used to just go.
But what I would like you to do is have a printed version right in front of you when you're studying. And you say, right, that's my syllabus. This is what I need to pass from. This is what I need. And have I covered this? Have I covered this? That I'm not sure. Okay, have I covered this well? And you learn from yourself. And it's part of your learning process.
For CIMA Connect also, there is like,
That's right.
Give me more motivation, like just look again.
Yeah.
Pass and then
That's right. And CIMA, it's a good site. CIMA has done a good job on this. I think we should be using and pushing this a bit more to the students as well, which I do all the time. So use it. The resources are there. And there's Ask a Tutor as well. So, get onto the web. You can ask questions with Ask the Tutors.
interact with them, like writing, and then you get.
That's right, yeah. And you're not on your own. That's the thing. You're not on your own. Don't feel lonely about it. In the world, people are there to hold your hand, to deal with it, okay? All right. Thanks. So that's operational level, Gitu. All right. You might need to edit it and chop and change, whatever, with me drinking in between, okay? Any questions from you two?